Introduce these. I don't really know what the intro should be, but my name is Jake Keane, and if you're watching this, because not that many people watch these, I'm going to assume that you know who I am. I create and consult in magic, mysticism, and mentalism, and I like to put out effects that are a little bit weird, a little bit bizarre. The past week, I think it's maybe the past 8 or 9 days, I've been experimenting with live streaming and kind of just coming up with topics that are a little bit different to what you might get in from other magic creators, maybe topics that haven't really necessarily been covered in in other tutorials or YouTube channels or things like that. Not to say that I think there's anything too lofty or theoretical about any of the stuff that I like to chat about, but I do think that it is, sadly, sometimes some of this stuff is neglected. So I like to provide a space where it can be spoken about. As with all of the other streams, when these are broadcast live, I know that not that many people watch them, but a decent amount of people watch them afterwards. So if you are watching this afterwards, or if you are watching this live, thank you. I appreciate it. There's not many of you, but there's a small, humble crowd, and it means a lot. If you feel like supporting in any way, shape, or form, it takes about 2 seconds to like the video whilst you're logged in. So please do that. It's genuinely appreciated. And if you are watching this live, feel free to join in on the live chat. Feel free to comment. Let me know you're here. Let me know what you're up to. And, we can kind of shape the conversation of where this goes. But if there's not too many people online at the moment, that's fine too, because I can usually just waffle on for hours and hours. Leon, how's it going, buddy? Evening. I hope you're okay, man. You are the first person here. There's usually not too many people at these when they're live, maybe like 5 to 10 at the moment, but they're still fun to do. And if anything, the intimate conversations it's usually a lot nicer because you can properly jam through ideas and stuff like that. I'm just getting the chat box up on my desktop as well because it isn't too reliable. Looking at this little tiny screen, sometimes I miss messages. Whilst I'm still kind of just doing this little strung together intro, which I do need to practice a little bit more. Whilst I'm doing this, like I said, if you get the chance, I would love it if you could like the video. It's only ever going to get about 10 likes, and you could be one of them. So thank you very much if you are. It's genuinely appreciated. There is links in the description below to the Real Underground, which is my little membership page. You don't have to pay to join it. You can join as a free member and you can get access to a bunch of eBooks, some articles and things like that. Super worth checking out if you enjoy the stuff that I talk about in these little live streams. There's also a link to my Instagram page if you want to follow me on there. I'm going to try and start posting more stuff on there, especially during the next few months where I'm going to be filming a lot more live performances, because it's almost time for Zodiac to come out. If anyone doesn't know what that is, it is a star sign, divination, and revelation. It is a collection of around about 10 routines, a little bit more maybe. I'm not too sure on the final figures just yet. It is a collection of routines, ideas, and concepts that are used with a method for divining a star sign, someone's zodiac symbol, like that. Super quick, super natural, super organic. And I'm going to be filming some of the performance stuff for a trailer over the next few weeks or months whilst I finish off the very last parts of the project. It's been a long time coming. We first spoke about it on the Black Art podcast, me and Lloyd. I don't know how long ago it was, maybe like September or October last year. So it's been a decent while coming, and finally nearly there. Just the last few hurdles to get over, which are the toughest hurdles to get over, which is, funnily enough, the topic of conversation I was just having. If I seem tired at all, it's because I've just spent the past hour and a half or so recording an episode of the Black Art podcast. We were a little bit late this week, so it'll be going up probably an hour after I finish this stream or so. I need to make the little thumbnails and do all the description and the editing and upload it and process it and stuff. But it'll be going up tonight, like maybe 9 or 10, something like that. which should be fun. We just had a really, really fun episode. We went through some really interesting ideas, fun stuff to jam. Everything from Lincoln cards to ring flights to ring vanishes, disappearances. Towards the end of the episode, we settled on some really, really cool ring appearances and ring vanishes that you can just do with very minimal equipment or gimmicking, and in some cases no gimmicks or gaffs or anything are all needed. So definitely check that out after this, tonight or tomorrow, or if you're listening to this after, you might have already listened to it. But yeah, episode 50 of the Black Art Podcast, we just finished recording. Little bit late this week, purely because Lloyd's got a busy week. If anyone hasn't seen, Lloyd has just hit 100k subscribers on YouTube, which is insane. Um, Absolutely insane. I can't believe he's managed it. I'm made up for the dude. And he's also just put out a release this Friday with Craig Petty called Infinity Deck, which is brilliant. If anyone hasn't seen that, go check out the live stream that they did on Murphy's Magic the other day. I think at the weekend there is an interview going up on Alakazam. I think maybe Magic TV has got another interview with them. They're doing like a little special Magic TV episode at some point. I'm not sure. But yeah, there's going to be a bunch more information about the routines and stuff that are possible with the Infinity Deck. So go check all that out, man. Lloyd deserves a heckload of love. If you haven't already, go give him some congratulations for hitting 100k. It is insane. As per usual, I have a generalized topic that I've got for this stream, which I will just waffle on a little bit. I make a little thumbnail and I make a title beforehand, but the direction of the stream depends on, if people are here live, if they want to talk about other things, if they have questions about completely separate topics, if they want to jam ideas that are completely unrelated to the title, that's fine. I have no qualms whatsoever with changing it all completely, heading in a different direction. My just general introduction to the stream is going to be about what the title on the thumbnail is. Psych Magic, ahoy, dude! How's it going? I hope you're all right, man. It was fun jamming with you on the last few streams. Hope that you're doing good and you're having a good night or morning or wherever you're based, whatever time it is. I hope you're having fun. The general theme that I was gonna go for this episode of the stream was creating rituals in Magic, or the importance of rituals in Magic, or maybe even how you define rituals in Magic and what it means to you. Because I know what it means to me, but I don't really know what it means to some other people. I think it's an interesting topic because in some ways it solves problems that people have with traditional mentalism. And in some ways it creates problems in traditional Magic. There's a lot of subtlety and nuance to it. But when I think about a ritual, if I push aside all those visions of summoning demons and stuff like that, to me, a ritual means the visual and atmospheric component of an effect or a story that you're telling. In some cases, the faux method for the effect. And I have a few little examples that I've kind of scattered around whilst I was filming the Black Art Podcast. I was doing some last minute little bits and grabbing a few things. But the most simple example I can think of, the many of you who are into classic and traditional, basic, simple mentalism will be acquainted with, is this idea of, if you perform a peak of some sort, if you perform a center tear, the original pieces of paper will sometimes be bent in an almost, ritualistic, sacrificial manner. It's like the information needs to be bent to let out into the ether, depending on the story that you're telling, depending on what the narrative of the effect is. There's different reasoning for it being bent, whether it is just, keep it away from the magician's eyes, or whether it is so that it can wander off into the spirit world. This is the ashtray that whenever anyone is in my house and I have reason to perform a scent tear. This is the ashtray that I use. It is a horseshoe, and it has been turned into an ashtray. And yeah, if I ever perform a scent tear, this is what I have them burn the remaining pieces of the paper in. Because, I mean, in the past I've just done it, you know, on brick walls, tables in beer gardens, it doesn't matter. But when it's in my house, when I have access to this, this is an object that I can tell a lot of story with. Whether that is, you know, this is an ashtray that's made out of the horseshoe that killed a man, and maybe that's part of the faux method for accessing this information, or whether it is to do with luck, whether it is this is my lucky ashtray because the horse that this horseshoe came from, you know, back in the day, won me 200 quid on the horse racing, or you know, whatever the story is. The object that is used in the ritual, it just has a little bit more texture to it. But a ritual in and of itself, it doesn't necessarily have to be part of the story. It's just, it's like the light switch. It's kind of, it's just adding a little bit more weight. It's adding a little bit more gravity to whatever the effect is. When it comes to mentalism, something that it's often lacking is that visual component, that, you know, the flash paper, the snap, the change. Mentalism does lack a visual component, and sometimes that's a good thing, sometimes it's a bad thing. And if you do not have an effect that is being performed visually, sometimes it's nice just to have visuals that complement the effect, just so that there is that element of, you know, all of your senses being heightened, all of your senses being used. Even if it is, you know, there's a weird trait that I inherited from my grandparents. And the thing is, my granddad, he would drop a bunch of matches on the floor, and he'd throw back a shot of whiskey. And every time he threw back a shot of whiskey, he was able to just somehow know how many matches were on the floor. He couldn't do it if he hadn't had a drink, and later on in his life, when he was sober, he was never able to do this trick again. But every time when I used to go meet him when I was a kid, if he had a shot of whiskey, he could count stuff super fast. And I don't understand why, and it's something that I've experimented with. And then you pull out your nice looking bottle of whiskey. That's the ritual element. It's like the justification. It is the story. It is, this is the shot glass, and as soon as I knock it back, I can say 364, or whatever it is. Something that I use in rituals quite often is salt. You can tell a lot of stories with salt. I always carry salt with me in a little jar, a little cork glass. And the salt that I usually use is Epsom bath salts, Dead Sea salt, with a little bit of a scent to it. So I have lavender bath salt that I use for magic. As you can see, the pieces are a lot thicker than maybe little pieces of table salt, almost like crystals. And they smell amazing, and I use them constantly in effects. It's if I am just jazzing with billets, if I'm telling a story and I don't really know where the story's going, sometimes I'll just pull out this little jar of salt and I'll come up with some, in essence, bullshit. But you know, there are certain things, there are certain objects or certain actions that you can do that go towards justifying why what is happening, if that makes sense. And I am aware that I am going to be waffling quite a lot, just because, you know, it's a weekday. There's not going to be many people here live, but for people who are watching this after the fact, they might find some of it interesting. So, rituals are a storytelling element, but they don't have to just be a storytelling element. They can be a way to introduce this visual component to mentalism. They can be an accompanying effect. So there can be another effect that is used that kind of informs the mentalism aspect of an effect. And I'll try and think of a decent example for that, just in case it doesn't make sense to anyone. But they are just they're much more than just kind of hocus pocus. They're a way to enhance the magic on multiple levels. whether you are lighting a candle or shuffling a deck a certain way, you know, certain flourishes, there is a ritualistic element that helps the grand kind of illusion we're selling. That is kind of the thesis, the main point that I wanted to get to with this stream. And obviously, if there are any questions that are completely left of field, completely unrelated to what I'm talking about, please feel free to ask them. You know, if there is anything you would prefer to talk about, please feel free to. I don't know how long I'll be streaming today. It might not be as long as usual. So if there is any kind of like quick fire things we can go through, I'm more than happy to go through them. And if no one is here, then it will just be, you know, it will be me waffling for another little while. Psych Magic says, love the burnt offerings for the Spirit World plot. Oh, dude, it's one of my favourites. So, you know, people turn their nose up a little bit at a centre, despite it being insanely reliable, despite it looking very, very convincing that all the pieces have gone, all the pieces have been burnt. People get so in their head about justification behind it, about, yeah, well, why are you doing it? But there's so many different paths you can go down to explain why you're doing it. It is a lot more than just do this because I say you have to do this. If you are telling a story right, then you can get away with doing so much. And to have the ritual aspect and the storytelling and the narrative aspect combined with the method, it makes it enhances it so much more. And you know, people, like I said, people do turn their nose up or look down their nose, however you want to phrase it, at a centre that is burnt. Oh well, what's the point of that? What does it mean? You know, I think there's a million stories you can tell with that to justify why you're doing it, to explain why it's happening, and at the very least, most laymen, they're not going to care. They're not going to look into it as if they are a magician, wondering, well, where's the justification? Where's the narrative? They're going to think this is cool. I've just like wrote something down. No one saw it, and it's burnt, so there's no way he can know what I'm thinking. That's what they're going to be. That's what's going to be running through their head. Nothing at all to do with, well, where's the justification in this story? It doesn't make any sense, especially if you go to the effort of making it make sense. But yeah, as an offering for the spirit world, so, you know, say if you are, we're trying to make a connection here tonight, and the way that I can kind of enhance the atmosphere, the way that we can, you know, speak to those who are no longer with us, or hear whispers from the walls that come from worlds unknown. The way that we can do this is offer them a sacrifice, an offering, you know, something that we deposit into the ether that becomes theirs. And the best way that we can do this is we can give them a secret. We can give them something that no one else knows, whether that is the name of a crush or, you know, a secret that you have, some shameful guilt that you have, whatever it is, we'll fold it up and we'll all put it into this ashtray and light it. And then, you know, you don't have to reveal publicly this thing, but you can go up to someone and whisper to them, or well, whatever kind of way you present it. That is an interesting presentation. That isn't cheesy mentalism, in my eyes anyway. And I do understand that some people cannot warm to that kind of spooky mystical approach, and that's perfectly fine. Some people are more at home with, you know, here's the playing card, and now the playing card's over here, and that's just as equally magic. It's just that this is the stuff that I focus on. This is the stuff that I love. So as much as I try not to talk from an authoritative stance, because I don't consider myself an authority in any way, it's the stuff that I know and love. So it's the stuff that I'm going to be consistent with, that I'm going to be interested in. Ash reveals are perfect for these, says Psych Magic. Dude, you know, when I was a kid and I was first into magic, when I was 6, 7, 8, tricks to do with Ash were just, they were up there, man. That was that was for a long time. That was bread and butter. You know, the kind of the palm ash stuff. I used to do that all the time on the playground, and the the whole like word on the arm, all that kind of stuff. I absolutely dig that, man. It is perfect. So so fun. So just such a nice presentation. I was actually talking about effects to do with Ash a little bit earlier when we were recording the Black Art podcast this evening. I never ended up explaining it on the podcast, but I was trying to come up with some ways that you could combine different rituals. Specifically for this stream, a little earlier, I was making notes, and I was just coming up with some kind of simple examples of ways that you could combine rituals just to create interesting effects. So, one of the everyone's all-time favorite card tricks is just a two-card transposition, and I was thinking about ways that you can experiment with this using Ash or using some kind of marking on the card that ties into another effect, whether that is the burnt centre stuff or whether that is an Ash reveal. And the idea of maybe it not being traditional playing cards, but maybe it being symbols. And even if it was an ambitious card you were performing, say, or whatever it is you're performing, but say you have ESP cards and you show someone the circle card, or they have chosen the circle card, and then it's turned over, you pass it to them and have them hold it in between their palms, and then if you just rub Ash on the top of their hand, and then when they open up their hand, the Ash is now in the circle in the card that you've handed them. Combining these two worlds is kind of fun, especially if there is another element to that, and it isn't just the card being switched. It is also a way for you to gain access to information. So even if you were to just combine the two simplest tricks in the world from mentalism and magic, the most simple magic trick and the most simple mentalism trick, and combine them just so that it's just fun to play with that idea and to introduce ritual to things, introduce new little plot elements, because rituals aren't just faux methods and they aren't just storytelling devices. It's a way to have interaction with the audience in a way that some mentalism does not involve. It is a way to get people hooked and to increase tension. If there is a candle on their hand that they have to light for this effect to work, the atmosphere, the whole presentation is enhanced. The atmosphere is enhanced. The aesthetic, the intimacy of it. It is an angle to come at mentalism and magic from rather. That it isn't always paid attention to. Because if you have a perfectly good trick and a perfectly good reveal, and you get a brilliant reaction, why should you bother about a tea light candle being lit between those two events? And for some people, I completely understand why it doesn't interest them, but for people who are looking more to tell a story and a solid narrative, that kind of stuff is interesting. And the truth of the matter is, those type of things are modular in many ways. I can carry a bunch of really simple little objects with me that I might just have on me anyway. A lighter, I'll probably just have that on me anyway. But I can bring them in and out if I am jazzing, if I am just kind of improvising on the spot. To have the ritualistic element of your magic and mentalism be modular, it introduces a lot more of there's just a lot more textures you can play with them. Because yes, I could do this really simple mind reading effect with cards, but why don't I bring this weird little jar of salt into it as well? Because it's in my pocket anyway, and I could pour it on their hand, and that could become the faux method. I could be drawing out an image using the salt, and then almost as if it just comes to me out of nowhere, that the image is drawn in their hand with the salt. Here's Lloyd. We were just talking about salt then, and it's all that's on my mind, dude, Lloyd. Since we recorded the podcast earlier, all I've been talking about is Epsom salt. So that is 25 minutes, in essence, of me just completely rambling about rituals. So if anyone does have any questions or kind of ideas where they want to go, please let me know. Lloyd says the light could turn into the jar of salt. They're similar in size and shape. The lighter, or a tea light? Which one? Either way, it's very, very interesting. But this idea of modularity is something that really has interested me for a long time. Um, the lighter, says Lloyd. Yeah, they are pretty similar in size, and both transparent up to a point, depending on what lighter you have. Psych Magic says, yeah, people want to participate in this fantastic experience, even if they don't believe it. It gives them a reason to play in this imaginary world for a bit. Lloyd, don't apologise for being cack-handed, man. It's all good. You, that's a super super interesting point. Like I said, the this interactivity, the participation is very very important in a routine where there might not be too much of a visual component. You're still keeping them hooked because they're still involved. They're the one who lights something on fire. They're the one that is holding an object. They're the one that is involved with this ritual that is happening. And it is an experience. And if they don't believe it, it gives them a reason to play in that imaginary world. Like we spoke about it, I think, on the last stream. As much as I give out sincerity whilst I'm performing, like some of the stranger effects I perform, as much as I want to give out sincerity, and that is the main aim of it, I want that sincerity back. And it doesn't necessarily have to be sincerity of, I believe this completely. It's the sincerity of, yes, I will come play in this imaginary zone because you have introduced it well, because I am interested, just, because of the world that you've kind of like woven a little tale about and that you're introducing me to. The idea that I can be involved in it in some way, through this ritual that doesn't necessarily have to have anything at all to do with the effect. It's a good way to maintain not just tension but maintain interest and keep someone hooked, like 100%. So if the lighter, like Lloyd says, if a lighter is turning into a jar of salt, because Lloyd has a beautiful habit of derailing my absolute waffle into a jam instead, which I which I really like. If the lighter turns into a jar of salt, where would the story be going with that? Where would the effect be going with that? Is that the effect, or is that just an introduction to the ritual in an effect? Or there is a lot of interesting things to talk about, to think about. Wes says, I wonder if there's a salt you could use that causes more of a reaction when you burn the offering. Similar to flash paper, but it could be dangerous. I would imagine that there is. You know what could be, interesting to play around with? Has anyone ever used, I think that they're called snap bangs or like snap flashes or something? It is. I've got some. I'll grab some in a sec. It is little kind of crystallized rocks of, I don't know what the chemical is, wrapped in a little piece of paper. And when you throw them down onto the ground, they go bang, and a little bit of smoke comes out. And like my old favorite trick when I was a kid in school was clicking my fingers with this snap bang in between, so that the reaction occurred and it went poof and fizzled, and smoke came up. If I mixed the crystals from that with a bit of salt, I wonder what would happen if I lit it on fire. I would be interested in trying it out, even if it is a little bit dangerous. There could be some fun effects that you could do with that. Or flash powder, says Psych Magic. Because I've completely got salt on the brain just because of the podcast we just recorded, all of this stuff is like crack to me right now, and I want to be experimenting with it straight away. I've got so much work to do tonight, but Lloyd says, dude, that's sick. I want to buy some snap bangs now. Mate, go to like any joke shop or any party shop. They're about 30p. Or you can buy a huge box of them for like £4, £5. I get them all the time and throw them out my windows because I'm fairly high up. If I throw them out at people, it scares them. It's great. But yeah, if anyone played around with them when they were a kid, there might be some interesting things you could do with that. I don't even know what the chemical is inside them. I don't know what it's made up of, but I bet you it'd have some cool effects. I've emailed you over the video file for the pod. Thank you, Lloyd, dude. That's actually a good point. If people are interested in this, I don't know if anyone's interested in this. We used to upload the Black Art podcasts on Lloyd's YouTube channel, but I felt kind of bad because it ended up creating about well, probably more. It ended up creating a lot more work for Lloyd each week. Besides, his normal uploads, he then had to edit and process and put up all this other black art stuff. So we stopped doing it and we moved just to audio only. But we were literally just speaking about the possibility of, because I'm using this YouTube channel a lot more, I could start uploading the black art video recordings to this YouTube channel because we do have the video recordings for a lot of the episodes. So if people are interested, or if there was episodes where you might have wished that you could have seen a visual component that we were talking about, I can start backdating some of them and uploading them to this YouTube channel. Obviously, if no one's interested in it, it's all good, but it could be interesting. There were definitely some episodes where we probably didn't describe well enough what we were doing, just because we're talking over video chat. So sometimes you forget that you're producing an audio experience, and you should probably be a bit more descriptive with what you're saying. But yeah, if let me know if you leave a comment if you watch this after the fact, or email or anything like that. Let me know if you would be interested in seeing some of the other episodes, the videos for them, and I can upload them to this YouTube channel. I'm looking around desperately now as well because I'm pretty sure I've got snap bangs somewhere. I just don't know where they are right now. Because I'm very tempted to take them apart and start playing with them. Psych Magic says snap bangs, I think, can they ignite flash paper? Ooh, I don't know, dude. I don't know what the ignition potential is with them. I can't remember how much they kind of like spark or flash, or whether it's more so just the noise and a little bit of kind of like smoke from friction. You know what? If you give me like 4 seconds, I can check where I think they are. I could be completely wrong though, but we'll see. Yeah, unfortunately, couldn't find them anywhere. Go, go, go. Yeah, no luck, dude. He's not actually looking for snap bangs, he's just eating some crisps. No, man. If I wanted to, I'd just reach over to the side if I wanted crisps. I genuinely was looking for snap bangs. So the thing is, I have very easy access to them. I live above a party shop that is owned by my auntie. A party shop which stocks jokes and snap bangs and stuff like that as well. That's yeah. That's where I get paid in whenever I do a shift in the party shop. Next time, I promise I'll find my snap bangs and we can do some experiments live on YouTube. Enjoy your pizza, Lloyd. Take care, man. Yeah, man, I'll try to. You have a good night. So, when I was speaking about rituals earlier, Oh, Psych Magic says, haha, yeah, I'm going to try it. Maybe then the salt could turn into the lighter in a flash of fire. Yeah, it's always a beautiful way to reveal something or to change something, is with flash paper, man. I don't use it as much as I should. I think I used it a lot when I first started working in nightclubs and bars. It played so well when there was a when it's quite a loud environment and you wanted to make an impression. Flash paper played beautifully, and I did used to do that effect. Oh, what was it called? Spirit paper. Spirit paper. If anyone has ever made spirit paper, very easy to make, and the effect that that creates is beautiful for all kinds of, you know, magic effects. And in a way, that is both the ritual and part of the effect. If you don't know what it is, look up spirit paper. But a little bit earlier, when I was first talking about rituals, I mentioned candles. I've used this candle a couple of times. This skull that is just slowly melting. But with candles, there's something else that is modular that I use very, very often. I've said for ages, Psych Magic says tea bags work for those. Shh. Well, I'm not going to give away anyone else's effect, but yes. um, so, one of my favourite kind of modular rituals that I've been wanting to write something about for a while, and I do have some effects that utilise it, but I haven't put anything out to do with it yet. But I do plan on it. But it is chiromancy. If anyone knows what chiromancy is, congratulations, because everyone I've ever mentioned it to just doesn't know what it is. Chiromancy, in essence, is when hot candle wax is poured into, say, a glass of cold water, for example. It fairly quickly solidifies into strange shapes. So if you imagine pouring hot candle wax into a glass of cold water, it'll go tss, and the water will sizzle and it will turn into a shape. It will solidify in a weird shape. And you reach in and you can pull it out and it will be a fairly interesting looking object, which you then read. And chiromancy is the reading of this wax. So it is used if you have someone pour the wax into glass and then pull it out. It's strained between your fingers, and this hardened wax is kind of deformed into a strange shape, and you read the bumps and the ridges, and it is a form of divination, or the same way a palm reading is, the same way tarot reading is, any other form of mancy. There's many of them out there, and I love finding the really weird ones to incorporate into a more modern setting. So if I'm ever out for drinks with friends and we're sitting at a table, there'll usually be someone will have a glass of water, or there'll be like a jug of water that is shared. Sykes says, cool, pre-make some molds of wax figures. That's exactly what I do, dude. So if I'm ever out at a table with someone, I can use chiromancy just as a way to get into a reading that they won't have heard about before. But usually, 99% of the time, I'm pretty sure. And just explaining this to someone hooks them, gets them interested in what's happening. And then even if you were just performing a ritual, that's cool. Just a reading. It's a good reading. It's a fun way to read. There's not a massive amount of literature about how to read those things, but you can kind of just intuit your way. Like most reading that people do for entertainment and for performance, doesn't always have to follow strict rule sets. But the thing that I've always enjoyed playing around with is using molds from ice cubes or from little Play-Doh sets that look a little bit like something. So I have one that looks a little bit like a half crescent moon, and it's a half crescent moon with some texture to it. And I've poured hot wax into this mold. It's like a metal mold, and created just this tiny little half crescent moon. So when someone pours the hot wax into the glass, I reach in, pull it all out, and kind of like shake it up. This bit could represent your past. There's stuff to do with you doing the reading, whatever. and then it gets to this, and just the fact that it looks like something, it's not an effect in the sense of a magic effect, but it is almost like a very organic effect. And depending on what kind of impression you're trying to give, you can create these strange little molds that, you know, you could, it could be any kind of object you want really for any kind of reading. What is interesting is if you want to transform it into more of a magic effect, it could be something that is interpreted as maybe a card that you force, maybe something that is vaguely in the shape of an 8. So when you pull it out, you can rearrange it so it looks like it says 8, and you're like, I don't know what it is, but there's an 8 in your future. There's whatever it is you're doing, whatever way you want to perform it. If you use little tiny molds, or you make them, you can make the molds yourself. I've used tinfoil in the past before, just because it gives an interesting texture. So I've used tinfoil to kind of make my own little mold of a ring. There's a couple of different things, and eventually I think I'll put out an ebook. It'll probably be free, or it'll be on the membership. But you know, if any, this goes for all of my work for the most part. If you've seen me kind of talk about anything that you would like to know more about, or you would like to find out about, but you maybe, you know, you don't want to subscribe to a new membership, or you don't want to purchase it, if you let me know, usually I don't mind sharing things. So I'm fairly open with creation in that way. But yeah, I think in the future I would like to put out more of those caramancy routines that I have, whether it is using the pre-made little molds, or whether it is that there are a few different ways you can shape it in the moment to create something, depending on how comfortable you are with handling hot wax. It's not like painful when you pull it out, but sometimes if it's still super hot, it can be a little bit uncomfortable. And also just to use in a reading as well. I love giving readings, and caramancy is a very unique way to do it. Psych says, cool numbers, letters, even full words maybe. What about a wax homunculus? You know, it depends how far you want to push the boundaries of, you know, belief. I like to retain this kind of weird sense that maybe something has happened. If it was a full word, I don't know. Do you think that would be too obvious or not? I'm not too sure. There could be. There is this idea that you can interpret words in a lot of different things, and there are certain tricks that are built around this idea that you can read a word in something. So, you know, if you've peeked a word, you kind of look for that word. There's ways you can do it with clouds. There's ways you can do it with scribbles. There's a bunch of stuff like that. Too perfect maybe, says like, dude, I don't necessarily think it's too perfect. I think just how you do it, you have to maybe like you have to be smart about how you do it. I think if it is a word that say it's a word that you've peaked, we'll just go for the simplest thing ever, a name. You've peaked the word, the name Jake, which is important to them. It's destroyed maybe, or you've done the typical centre tear thing. Whatever way you do it, you've got this word now that they don't know you know. And you could use that candle wax then to create the word. So you could have them pour some in and pull it out, and if it's a decent amount, you could kind of like break it apart and put it on the table, and you could just position it so that it slowly starts to look like a word in front of them, and they don't know that you know the word, so it kind of hits a little bit more this idea of you saying, oh, that's weird, does that look like an A to you? And you've just positioned, maybe just, you know, there's a piece that looks like this and just the one that's kind of like flat, and you've positioned them together. I can see an A here, and if I move, is that a J that's in front of it? You can kind of do it in the moment, and because they don't know that you know what the word is, it seems more like just a weird coincidence, or like a natural thing that's happened. Just because we've hit the 45-minute mark, if you are watching this live, or you are watching this after the fact, if you're watching the replay, I know most people watch the replays of these, genuinely, please. I only have like 70 subscribers, so not many people watch these. Is if you can, it would be really really cool if you liked the video. It's not gonna do too much. It's not gonna like shoot it up the algorithm or anything like that, but it does help it reach people who are into this kind of stuff. So if you're able to, I would super appreciate it. If you're logged in and watching, it's gonna take half a second for you to do it, and would genuinely actually be appreciated from someone with next to no subscribers. If you're enjoying this, let me know. I'm always down to chat outside of streams and stuff like that. Whether you want to email me or whether you want to message me on Instagram or message me on YouTube or anything you want like that. In the description of this video, there is a link to the Real Underground, which is my membership page. You don't have to pay to subscribe to it. You can just subscribe as a free member and download a bunch of stuff. There is a load of free ebooks, and I'm trying to put out free ebooks fairly regularly. There's also a link to my Instagram down there as well if you want to follow me on that. I'm trying to post more on it. But if you want to just get in touch with me in any other way, if you just go to www.jakekeen.com, there's a link, there's a list of all of the links and different projects I'm involved in and stuff like that. If you wanted to search anything up, find any contact details, any of that stuff. And to anyone who has watched these after the fact, after they've been broadcast, I really, really appreciate it. It means a lot. There's not too many resources for this kind of weird magic. Yeah, I'm just happy that there is a decent little crowd of people who are into this kind of stuff and want to talk about this stuff. If you're watching them after the fact because you're in a different time zone and maybe you can't make these lives, let me know, because I'm more than willing to do lives at different times or to stream at different times and chat to different people. I'm trying to do these fairly regularly, maybe like every 3 days or every 2 or 3 days, that kind of frequency. And it means a lot that people are enjoying certain elements of it. And I'm trying to get better at them as well. I'm trying to get better at just talking when there isn't too many people in the chat. When it's not just answering questions or going back and forth. I'm trying to get better at talking just to the camera, just by myself, without waffling too much, without going from notes and stuff like that. So I hope you're enjoying it. And if not, apologies, you don't have to watch it. Hell yeah, great jam with you. Thank you, dude. I really appreciate that. You've got some brilliant ideas, dude. Yeah, if anyone has any questions at all about either what the general topic of this video was about or just about anything at all, please do let me know. More than happy to talk about other things. We don't have to talk about candle wax and rituals and salt the whole time. If you want to know about anything else, feel free to ask questions. What I spoke about a little bit at the start of this was Zodiac, which finally is coming out soon, and hopefully over the next few weeks there's going to be more information out about it. So you can check out, hopefully soon you'll be able to check out trailers and stuff for it. It's an effect and routines that I'm really, really proud of. And I think it's gonna, I don't know, I think some people are really, really gonna gel with it. The method is just super interesting and so clean, just almost instantly being able to know the star sign. So it has a lot of uses. The reason that I kind of wanted to create it is because I had routines around star sign divination and revelation that just existed in my head. I had the routine, I had cool ideas for, this is a ritual that I want to include, this is a line that I want to say, but I don't have a method that fits the routine. So I came up with Zodiac alongside some help from Lloyd, so that I could do those routines I'd always wanted to do. So it means it's a super, super personal project. It means a lot. I'm excited for people to see more about it. And there is some There's some other really cool stuff coming later this year in terms of products and releases and stuff like that. And if anyone has read any of my stuff in the past and been interested in any of the stuff I've put out there, whether that is for free or whether that is any of the paid stuff, yeah, there's some cool stuff coming soon that I think you'll like. Syke says he can't wait for that one. Thank you, dude. Really, really appreciate that. So I am genuinely absolutely shattered about talking about rituals and stuff. If anyone doesn't, if there are no more questions or anything like that, I'm probably gonna start wrapping this up. But if anyone has a completely different like train of conversation that they want to get to, please let me know. I also haven't ate today yet, so I need to do that. And like I said, if people are interested in viewing the videos of the Black Art podcast recordings, let me know because I have access to, I think, most of them. We record video. We just use the audio in the podcast, but I have all the videos. So if people want me to upload them, I would totally be down for that. Psych, take care, dude. It's been lovely chatting with you as per usual. I'll see you next time. Yeah. So let me know. Let me know if that's something that you're interested in. If it is something you're interested in, I can start uploading them. I can start from way back. I'll see what the earliest ones I've got are, and put up a schedule and just start uploading the video files of the recordings of the podcasts. Thanks, Psych. Yeah, I know a lot of people used to like watching them on Lloyd's channel, so I'll try and get them sorted. I'll try and make them look nice. I am going to bounce now. I think I have said way too much about rituals that probably not that many people are interested in, but if there was any value that you got from that, I'm very, very happy. I hope there was. You take care and have a good night, guys. Peace.